welcome back to the Second and Two podcast. I'm your host, TB. I got my co-host, producer extraordinaire, grill master, background in business, hat connoisseur, master of the lenses.
Yeah,
Jody.
I got some new ones on. I guess they're not technically new, but they're. I think they're new to the show. I don't think I've worn one here.
No, I like those. They're a good look for you.
Yeah, they're Oakleys. They were. I think they're Holbrooks technically.
Oh man, Oakleys.
Yeah, they're Holbrook.
No wonder.
They're. I made them regular glasses. I have
Nice.
the real lenses like in my car or something.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. You made your own transitions.
Yeah, I mean not technically because they don't change colors when you walk outside. I do have those. I was wearing those. Those are the ones I wore last week. These guys.
Oh,
these
nice.
ones are actually transition. So when I go outside, they get dark.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we just got a little lesson in the glasses.
Yeah.
So
it's all about the lenses.
We've finished all of our divisional primers. We really looked deep dive every team. And so we thought it'd probably be a good idea to really start stacking some teams up against each other, really do some rankings, have some fun with it. Today's episode is the Rankapalooza. We're going to rank them. And, we got some feedback from some people that maybe we weren't doing enough of that. Not enough like compare and contrast of these teams.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do today. I mean, we already I think we had that idea already, but
yeah,
now that
it made more sense. Like, well, I almost responded to him being like, do you know that meme where it's like, how do you know that? You know that one? Yeah. I wanted to find like a GIF of that, but I couldn't. So I just wrote like, got something brewing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Before we get into the Rankapalooza, I do want to talk some current NFL news. We got a couple things.
D-Hop.
Number one, D-Hop signing with the Titans. Joe, what do we think? Does that raise their floors or raise their ceiling? Does it do anything for you in terms of the Titans and what we've already talked about with them?
I think it gives Traylon Burks an opportunity to be better than what he was last year. He's not going to be like their main guy, you know what I mean? So
yeah. Slide him to the number two role.
Yeah,
I see it. I do think whoever ends up playing quarterback feels like it's going to be Tannehill right now. That does really help that guy because it was just noticeable how much they missed A.J. Brown last year. I think a lot of people are looking at this with the money they paid D-Hop. A lot of people are looking at this as like
they could have just re-signed him.
Yeah, an admittance of the mistake they made a year ago by not giving the younger ascending A.J. Brown that money as opposed to now giving it to D-Hop on the back end of his career. But he should definitely help them in the short term. Maybe they won't have to rely on Derrick Henry quite as much. And, we'll see. I think I already thought that they could contend with Jacksonville for this division. Like, I don't think the gap is so huge. And we saw when we did I think I had a 4-game gap between them.
Yeah.
When we did our primer. But I think getting D-Hop, could close that gap a little bit and make this a more competitive division. So,
true.
You have any other thoughts on it?
Nah, I want to see what happens with that team now. I do think they got a little better. Just a matter of how he plays. In Arizona, he didn't really play too much, nor did he perform like immensely better than like anyone else, But
last year was a rough year. Last year was a rough year for him, I think, given the
QB situation,
the QB situation and all that.
Yeah.
The year before, when they made the playoffs, he was unreal. He was ridiculous. So hopefully he can kind of. The biggest thing with D-Hop has always seemed to be like, can he stay healthy? If he's healthy, he's productive. He's good. True. So, speaking of staying healthy and getting paid, running backs, man. So we had 3 running backs who are on the franchise tag who yesterday did not get long-term deals. All 3, if they're going to play this season, are going to have to play under the tag. Saquon Barkley, Tony Pollard, and Josh Jacobs. So I saw a lot of reaction to this. Obviously, from those 3 guys personally, there was like the story about Josh Jacobs sitting in the car with Max Crosby, waiting to sign the extension, like literally at the facility, ready to go in and sign at the deadline. Obviously, Saquon, they said it was real close there. About like $1 million in guaranteed money was the rumor. It was what it was off by. And then Pollard didn't hear as much about in terms of him getting a long-term deal and how close that was. But saw like Christian McCaffrey was real upset on Twitter.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, real upset on Twitter. Austin Eckler, there's like a running back revolution happening on Twitter right now. Even Dez Bryant, former NFL receiver, he posted a picture of the average annual salary for kickers versus running backs.
Yep.
Which doesn't take into account that there are only basically 32 kickers and there's like, 100
at
plus
least
running backs.
64, at least.
Like 100 running backs, but like,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, I get the point he was trying to make,
Yeah.
It was a fun point. But so the question is like, these guys, they're not getting paid. And I from a team management, roster management standpoint, it makes sense. It makes sense. Like you look at the last few big running back contracts haven't really worked out for the teams that gave them. The Rams with Todd Gurley, the Cowboys with Ezekiel Elliott, all these guys end up getting cut before they make it to the end of that contract because they just get so broken down. The only guys in recent memory that feel like they could just go forever are Derrick Henry and Adrian Peterson. Like in the last 10 years, those are the only guys who felt like they could just play that position forever and take 300 plus carries a year. So I think there's, from the standpoint of the team, it makes sense why they're not paying these guys. From the standpoint of the player, I also understand being frustrated. Man, you're making us like, we come in on these rookie deals, we give you great production, and then when we want to get paid for what we've done, you tell us no, because we're going to pay for what. Yeah, I can find the next guy and replace you. And instead of paying for what you've done, I want to pay you for what you will do. That's the NFL. That's the business. What are you going to do? And I know you're not going to be as productive on that first, that second contract as you were on the rookie contract because that's just the way the position goes. So I see the argument on both sides. I know why running backs are frustrated. I understand why teams are they're managing their roster that way. So what I'm wondering is there some kind of way that we can rectify that situation? If the owners and management are saying we're going to pay for production during this contract rather than for what you did before it, then my question is, can we make rookie scale running back contracts more lucrative?
Or like larger than any other position? I mean, that's what I was going to suggest. Like maybe their window, instead of being like 4 years, you cut it to 2, and then you have to make the decision from there. I don't know.
I mean, we all know like business doesn't work this way, but in an ideal world,
true,
you would be getting paid for your like what you get paid for the most productive time of your career should be the most you're getting paid, right? Like you should be making the most money when you're the most productive because that's how it works best for both teams. So my question is there a way that maybe in the next CBA, they can scale rookie running back contracts to reflect that? Like where you actually, as a running back, versus every other position, you're going to make your money on the second contract. Maybe at the running back position, you can make your money on the first contract because that's when you're the most valuable. That's when you're the most productive. Now, I could imagine the owners and management are not going to want that. They're not going to like that. And it's probably going to be something that is really hard to do because you'd have to get the entire players union on the side of just the running back position like that.
True.
As a quarterback, am I sitting there going, man, running backs should be getting paid more? Yeah, they should make more than I do on my rookie contract because it's not fair for them. Like other players probably aren't going to see it that way. It's only going to be the running back position. So for them to get that done is probably the longest of long shots. And I know I'm shooting into the wind right now in terms of even suggesting this, but I just had that thought of like, if the problem is we're not going to pay for past production, we want to pay for current production. Then if I'm a running back, then I need to be getting paid on that first contract because I know that's when I'm the most valuable.
Yeah, I guess the only other way you could do that would be like if you add more incentives in that first contract, you know what I mean? Where they get more of a bonus for doing certain things within those first couple years.
Yeah, like you can offer greater incentives to rookie running backs than any other position. Or maybe you make it so that no matter where they're drafted, rookie running backs are on a 2-year deal. So they hit free agency going into year 3 and they can make their money during that first, that next contract. They hit their second contract sooner than other players do. it's really hard again for the players union to rally around one position, and that's what you would need in order to get that into the next CBA, because the owners aren't going to want that. And the thing is if you try and get that done as the players union, you're going to have to cede something else to the owner. That's kind of how those labor talks work.
Yeah.
And so are the rest of the players going to be willing? Yeah, are the rest of the players going to be willing to kind of be like, oh, we'll give up this thing so that running backs make sure they get paid sooner? It's hard. It's a tough conundrum.
Sure.
And I do wonder what will happen to the position moving forward if that's kind of the loop that we're caught in with no obvious solutions.
Yeah, I mean, there you can see both sides of the coin, right? Like running backs, we see it right now with those 3 dudes we're talking about right now. They're all peaking, and they're worried about where they're getting their money from next year. And
the
it's
prime
crazy.
of their career.
Yeah.
Like, and McCaffrey said it, and he's not wrong. Those are three of the best players in the league, regardless of position, not just 3 of the best backs. Those are 3 really good players. I mean, Saquon, you could argue he carried the Giants to the playoffs last year. I know Daniel Jones, and it's funny that Daniel Jones was just like a marginally better, and he's the one that got the
big contract. Yeah.
And then Saquon is like, man, I carried us, and what the heck? Like, I can't get 10 mil? I can't get over $10 million a year?
Yeah.
I'm not worth that?
That's crazy.
I could imagine being him and being pretty upset about that. So I do sympathize with the running backs, even if I understand the logic and the theory being sound behind why they're not getting paid. So obviously everyone kind of has made the argument like, well, you don't really need one to win a Super Bowl. Look at all these Super Bowl winning teams. No one's had like this high priced running back on a Super Bowl winning team. It's like, you had our guy 7th round pick.
Yeah.
Pacheco with the Chiefs. Yep. The Rams had Cam Akers, who was still on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
The Bucks had Leonard Fournette, who's not on a major contract. Mm-hmm. You go back, like LeGarrette Blount won back-to-back Super Bowls with the Patriots and the Eagles, and he was not on lucrative contracts. So it's just really hard. It's hard to
justify it.
Yeah, to envision a world where you can really justify paying $10+ million a year for a running back. Tough.
I mean, but if I feel like on the other side, sorry, I know we want to get to the next one, but if you're a guy like, say, Christian McCaffrey or like Eckler, they do more than just run the ball. They go out there and catch it too. And then, that's a whole nother story.
Oh, I agree. And that's where like people are going to start making the argument. If you're a decent pass catcher, don't play running back, go play receiver, because you can make the money there. And that's going to be
like Debo. He's in the opposite. He plays receiver, and they're trying to cut him some cheap chump change over there because he goes and plays running back.
Well, and I wonder if like a guy like Bijan Robinson, or Jahmyr Gibbs, as we go in the future, do those guys slowly just morph into slot receivers instead to get paid? Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's something that the next 5 years in the running back world are just going to be really interesting to watch and see what happened, because it's now very clear it's not a lucrative position to play. And that's just not going to change right now. So we'll see. Are you ready for the Rankapalooza, Joe?
I am. I do have one more thing to say, but I am going to say we're ready for the Rankapalooza.
Well, go ahead. Get it out there.
Well, I was going to say, what if say Air Force or like all the military schools, right? They all run the triple option. At that point, that's what those dudes are going to become in the NFL in a way. You know what I mean? They could run the ball out the back. They can go out for a pass. They just got to always expect the ball at that point, if instead of just being a true, like, between the tackles running back,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like I said,
in the last 10 seconds.
The evolution of the position is going to be interesting to watch. But so can we explain to the listeners for me, Joe, what we're ranking today?
Today we got
a few things.
Yeah, we got a couple things going on. We're starting off with our team. Well, we're ranking all 32 teams in order of who we think will win the Super Bowl. Starting with the most likely person to least. Following that, we're bringing we're ranking the top 10 skill positions for different teams. So out of the 32, we're ranking 1 through 10 who we think have the best running back and receiver core. Following the position ranks, we're going D lineman. Right, that's correct.
Pass
Interior
rush.
D lineman, yeah. And then lastly, TB has given us his QB rank. So he ranks the QBs in different tiers all through 1 through 32.
And this is kind of fun because ESPN just came out with their annual ranking of the quarterbacks that they take the pulse of the league, executives, players, coaches, and
Oh,
based
really?
on that compiled data, they release their rankings of what
Oh,
NFL personnel think the quarterbacks are ranked like. And honestly,
you
not
on par?
crazy far from what I kind of have now. There's certain guys I'm higher or lower on, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pretty.
As always.
It was similar. It was similar. It
There you
wasn't too
go.
far off. Which I don't know that makes me necessarily right, but
Yeah. I mean, it's
but
all opinion based, it's
yeah.
what you think.
So as Joe said, we're starting with our power rankings. So we got our 2023 NFL power rankings. We're looking at teams we think are most likely to win the Super Bowl versus least, all the way down to least likely. And
Mhm.
we wanted to compare that to the Vegas odds for these teams. So we'll kind of go down the list. Joe and I will give our rationale for each ranking and what we think and why we think it. And
Yeah.
then we'll keep it moving. So we're starting off with our top 10. Number 1, Joey and I both have the Chiefs as the most likely team to win next year's Super Bowl. We think they're, the most likely team in terms of they
Our
could
house over
repeat.
there.
And then, Vegas agrees with us. This is one of the few clean sweeps we have in this ranking where myself, Jody, and Vegas all believe the Chiefs are most likely to win the Super Bowl. Vegas is giving them plus 600 odds right now.
Yeah, following them, we got the Bengals for both of us. Vegas viewed it otherwise. They had the Eagles there, the other team that made it to the Super Bowl last year at plus 800. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it now. Me and you had 1 through 3 exactly the same. It's no question that
I
we believe
wonder why do you think so? You and I are both on the Bengals, but Vegas is on
Yeah.
the Eagles. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
So you tell me, why do you have the Bengals above the Eagles right now?
I mean, we've seen it the past couple years. These two teams play each other to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. Does it make sense to have? I mean, I guess okay. So the argument would be for the Eagles making the Super Bowl again. I mean, on the NFC, we'll probably get into it later, but they got arguably the best quarterback in the whole NFC conference.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of us seeing who we believe will make it to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs and the Bengals are the two teams that have shown consistency over the past 2 years of getting to not only the championship game but playing each other for that next spot for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think right now, for me, what it came down to, I think the Eagles roster is actually a little bit better than the Bengals when you stack them up. They're close. They're both very talented. I love both their coaching staffs. Really, what it came down to at the end of the day, I like Joe Burrow more than I like Jalen Hurts. I think Joe
That makes
Cool
sense.
has just proven it time and again. Jalen was incredible last year. He had an unreal Super Bowl performance. He gets better every year. He's a top 5 quarterback in the league. He's an MVP candidate
Mm-hmm.
going into this season, especially considering the supporting cast he gets to work with.
Yeah.
But there's just something about Joe Cool, man. I've seen it for more years from him.
True.
He's gone toe to toe with Mahomes. He's 3-1 against Mahomes,
True.
which is that was the biggest thing for me. Is like, you know what? I had to weigh. Do I think like the Bengals and the Chiefs have to go through each other to get there versus the
Yeah.
Eagles? We just mentioned probably the best team in the NFC by a considerable margin at this point, and so their path to
Mm-hmm.
getting to the Super Bowl is easier. But in terms of actually winning it, I think I would value both the Chiefs or the Bengals just slightly ahead of the Eagles right now
Yeah.
because I like both their quarterbacks a little bit more than I like Jalen. And that's just really what it came down to for me. It was Burrow versus Jalen. The rosters are similar. The coaching staffs are similar in terms of talent and what you have available. I just trust Joe Burrow just like this much more right now. That's
Just a
it.
little smidge. I will say
And
one more.
obviously Vegas is saying, I think with theirs, Vegas is saying the Eagles have an easier path, which I understand.
I will say another argument as to why the Eagles could be a step lower would be that they just lost their OC as well. One more
And their
thing.
DC.
Yeah.
OCDC, they got to replace both coordinators. They lost a little bit of O-line depth. So, there's a little they lost some players on defense. There's a little bit of turnover there. Yeah.
But yeah, I was gonna say the odds for the third team they had would be the Bills at plus 900. As we've been talking about it, we both had the Eagles following the Chiefs and the Bengals. So,
if you want to put the Eagles above the Bengals, that's like I'm okay with that. I'm not. I don't know why Vegas values the Bills this highly. I'm just going to be honest with you. The Bills at third at plus 900 odds to me is the kind of wild card. So like the thing that jumps out to me where I just think that team is valued too highly personally. I think you've seen the offseason has been a little bit dramatic for them with the whole Stephon Diggs thing.
Yeah.
They were rumored to be in the mix for DeAndre Hopkins, which was interesting. They drafted, the replacement for Dawson Knox. And so now you've got the Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, and that's a little awkward. You lost Devin Singletary, your lead running back.
True.
And so now you're expecting Cook to step in and be the guy. But, he was okay last year, but it wasn't great. And then defensively, you lost Tremaine Edmonds. And not to mention, they haven't even made a Super Bowl appearance.
True.
Like I don't like
in the Josh Allen era.
We're just supposed to say that they're better than the Bengals.
Yeah.
We're just like, even though we've seen the Bengals get to a Super Bowl and we saw the Bengals go into Buffalo and pretty much smoke them last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why Vegas has the Bills so high. Unless they're just saying the Von Miller injury was so big last year that they're expecting him to be healthy the whole way this year, and that's going to make all the difference in the world. I'm just not as high on the Bills, I think, right now as some people are. I think there's too much drama going on there.
Yeah, I will say early last year you could have made the argument. I think they started like 7-2 or something crazy, right?
Yeah.
But then as the season progressed, they started slipping, and then. They made it to the second round of the playoffs?
Yeah, they lost in the divisional at home against the Bengals.
Yeah, it's not a good look for sure. I mean, I don't know. We both had them a little lower, but we'll get into that a little bit later. At the fourth spot, you had Baltimore, I had New York Jets, and Vegas had the Bengals here.
So we obviously both agree the Bengals for us are higher than what Vegas had. We kind of established that. However, the interesting thing is, in terms of our personal rankings, I like the Ravens, you like the Jets. Mm-hmm. So in 10 words or less, give me why the Jets are here for you.
Ooh, okay. So I will say Aaron Rodgers at quarterback and his crew from Green Bay. There you go, 10.
Okay. I'll give you my 10 word answer for the Ravens. Todd Monken, Lamar Jackson, MVP.
Oh, okay. So he's getting back to his old ways, is what you're saying.
I think Todd Monken's offense is going to let him finally cook, if you will. Yeah.
Okay.
And not Russell Wilson cooking. I'm talking like
he's not making oatmeal. Cooking. He's making steaks.
I think they're going to be really good. They do play a tough schedule. I remember even in their records, you were a little higher on them than I was, but I thought, because the schedule's so tough, but I do think that schedule will make them prepared for the playoffs. I think they're going to be an awesome playoff team. I think they're going to be healthy this year for the first time in a couple years. And I just love Lamar and that Todd Monken offense. I think it's going to be electric.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar does have more weapons to throw to as well, so I'm looking forward to watching that. At 5, though, here's a clean sweep.
It's the only other clean sweep we got.
We got the San Francisco 49ers. Their odds are at plus 950, equal with the Bengals, and we also chose them at this 5th spot.
I think here we obviously agree. I think the supporting cast around the quarterback is electric.
Really good.
Well, we'll get there in our other rankings here in a bit.
True.
But we both like that group of McCaffrey and Debo and Kittle and Ayuk and Juszczyk and all those dudes that they have supporting whoever it is that ends up being the quarterback. We think it'll be Purdy, could be Lance, could be Darnold. And we talked about this on our last pod. We almost don't care who it is at this point. Kyle Shanahan has just proven
they'll get it done.
They'll just get it done. And defensively, I think that's where you have more questions. D'Amico Ryans being gone, and losing some of the depth. And that's probably why they're a little bit lower than maybe years past, because there are some questions there. But the fact that they're playing in the NFC
also big
makes it easier. And so that allows you to put them as high as fifth here. And I think that's about right for given the questions I have, despite them playing in the NFC.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I pretty much agree with that too. They got their schedule's not easy. We know that. We talked about that last week. But in terms of the other NFC teams, it just makes sense. I mean, you got someone else from their division coming up next, who is the Seahawks, and then this is where I have the Ravens at 6. Vegas has the Jets at plus 1,200. I mean, I'll let you get into the Seahawks a little bit because it kind of pivots off of the Niners right there.
Well, I think you and I are both higher on the Seahawks than Vegas. I think we're both higher on the Seahawks than a good chunk of people.
Probably, yeah.
I just believe in their two most recent drafts. I think they've done so good. They've done such a good job of collecting and adding talent in key positions. And I think Shane Waldron did such a good job with Geno Smith last year. I do think Geno's got it in him to have another special season. And it just that the weapons they have around him now with DK and Lockett and JSN, and now they've got the 2 running backs, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. They've got all the tight ends. Defensively, I think they're just so much better with Derek Hall and Witherspoon being added to a group that already has Tariq Woolen and Quandre Diggs and maybe a healthy Jamal Adams, maybe. And even if not, they signed another safety in free agency to cover up.
Brought back their guy Bobby.
They brought back Bobby Wagner. They've got veteran. So I just think they have all the elements to a special Pete Carroll team. And in years where Pete Carroll went to the Super Bowl, especially the first time they went, it was kind of no one was on them at the beginning of that year as oh, this will be the team that's in the Super Bowl. People like their team, but no one was on them. Even when they went the second year back to back, it wasn't like they were the heavy favorite out of the NFC. You know what I'm saying? People still like teams like the Packers or the Falcons and things like that. So I just think this is classic Pete Carroll. And I told you, I think they're going to win the division. I think it's going to be really close with the Niners, but I actually think they're going to win the division. And the reason that I maybe put the Niners above them, even though I think the Seahawks could sneak away with the division, is just the Niners have shown, they've just shown it more to us. And so the big question with Seattle really is if Geno is just going to be awesome again.
What he did. Yeah.
So
I will say, sounds like you'd say they got good value over there for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I think there's
simply put it.
I think that is the case because you're going to see the Seahawks don't show up in the Vegas odds until page 2 here. So
yeah, so looking at spot number 7, you had the Bills here. This is where I had the Seahawks. I mean, it ties back. I think they're probably one of the better teams coming out the NFC. The Bills, I'll let you get into that because I have them a little bit lower than you.
I was going to ask you because Vegas has the Bills at 3. I have them at 7. You have them at 9. And I mean, we kind of I talked earlier about what I think about the Bills and why I think that's so high for Vegas. I mean, I kind of want to hear what you have them even lower than I do. So I want to hear from you.
Yeah, I just think the Bills, I think they're done. I obviously they still have good talent in the facility, but Josh Allen, he's been doing too much. I think that's what it comes down to. I don't know if their running back play is gonna be better than what it was. Their defense, I feel like that might have a little struggle at first. I don't know. I just don't see them being as good as they were a year or two ago. You know what I mean?
Well, in reference to what you're saying about like Josh Allen doing too much, I do agree with you. Like he's had an issue with turnovers the last couple of years. I mean, he threw 15 picks 2 years ago and he threw 14 last year. And that's not counting some of like the sack fumble problems he's had too.
Yeah.
So I do agree with you. Sometimes he is his own biggest enemy in terms of holding onto the ball, trying to make the hero play probably a little bit too often. He's so talented and special that you don't want to just take that away from him completely.
Yeah.
But you go back to a game like the Minnesota game last year. Sometimes he's in trying to do so much, he actually contributes to you losing a game.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that game he lost the game because I never think that's true about any single player. But he had a huge contribution, obviously throwing the pick at the end to seal it.
Yeah,
But even before
exactly.
that, some just bad plays that he would tell you himself were bad plays. So he needs to clean that up. And I do think a big part of it is just he's so confident in his abilities that
Yeah.
sometimes it gets him in trouble. I'm also curious here, though. Vegas has the Cowboys as the seventh best team here,
Yeah.
plus 1,600. And it's not like we're super down on the Cowboys. We both have the Cowboys at 10 in our power
Yep.
rankings. But what do you think about Vegas putting the Cowboys at plus 1,600, seventh overall in these odds?
I think they just believe in Dak, I guess. I don't know. I know I don't feel high on Dak. Granted, we're talking about Tony Pollard not getting paid, like there's a lot of things that just on offense alone. Like granted, they got CD Lamb over there. And they got a good receiver. I don't know anyone else on the receiving core, to be honest. The tight
Cooks and
end, I
Gallup
think
are
they
good.
got. Oh yeah, Gallup.
Brandon Cooks
Yeah.
and Michael Gallup. I mean, so their
Oh, they
receivers
got
are
Brandon
like,
Cooks.
yeah.
All right, well, I do know
He's
who
like,
they are, but
that
I
changes
couldn't.
things.
No, I do know who these people are. I'm just saying I couldn't tell you just like off the top of my head,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they got a solid defense. I think I had them up on my list later on, but when it comes down to it, I don't know. The Cowboys just haven't shown. It's just the revolving door. They were good when. I don't. How many years ago?
95. In fairness to the Cowboys, they're so talented. They're immensely talented. They remind me of they're kind of in the same sort of spot as the Bills and the Chargers recently,
Yeah.
where you just have these teams that are so massively talented that if they could ever just like put it together, you could see them
Hmm.
winning the Super Bowl and it wouldn't be like crazy. But they always seem to manage in like the big moments to just
Yeah.
have that one play
The
or that one
unraveling.
thing. Yeah, it just and you're not like super duper confident in the coaching and what's going on. And so I
Yeah.
do
McCarthy's been making some questionable decisions on the stretch.
yeah. The Cowboys have to be in the top 10 because they're so talented,
Yeah.
but I
And the
can't put them any
NFC.
higher than 10 because
Yeah.
they have so many question marks in those big moments. But they are in the NFC. That helps them a lot. So
Yeah.
yes. But getting to 8, who we got?
We got you having the New York Jets a little bit lower than what I had them, and then I have a team that's a shocker out here according to everything on this paper. I got the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Vegas has the Ravens here, so lower than both of us. So that tells you, some good value.
You got to talk about the Jets a little bit. I'll kind of give you my case in point. I do think adding Rodgers makes them dangerous.
Uh
I
huh.
think it's a slightly less great version of Rodgers compared to like 2 years ago.
True.
Um,
A little older.
I think
A lot of
the
darkness.
running back position is an interesting question for them. They need their guy to get healthy.
Brees Hall.
Defensively, I love their defense. It's young and it's really good. I think in general, I think the reason they're so low for me is mostly because they play in the AFC and the competition is just extremely high.
Yeah, that's true.
Like when I go through some of the rosters and ask myself some questions, I think the Jets have a couple more questions to answer, and they're new.
Yeah.
They haven't seen Rodgers play with these guys, and if you want the template,
Hard Knocks. It'll come out soon.
yeah, that is interesting. Oh, that's another that was another news thing. Thank you. But if you want the template of like what this could, what is an aging veteran quarterback who's still got some in the tank combined with this young elite defense look like, and can it win a Super Bowl? You don't have to go back very far. I mean, it's Tom Brady and the Buccaneers a few years ago. That's the template. If you're a Jets fan or you're a believer in this team, that's what you're pounding your chest on. Is like, okay, the Bucs. This is the 2023 version of the Bucs. And I do think there's a world where that exists, which is why they're at 8 for me. I just think it's going to be harder than what the Bucs had to do because they're playing in this AFC with Mahomes and Burrow and Lamar and Allen and Tua and Herbert all in their primes, all playing well. I mean, you're not going to get a game against Daniel Jones in the playoffs. You're not going to get a game against
that is another thing. Aaron Rodgers switching sides.
Yeah, I mean, you're not, like you're not going to get that like first wild card or divisional matchup against an opponent that's like really beatable. You're going to have to play perfect football through the playoffs to get out of the AFC and be in the Super Bowl, just to get to the Super Bowl. So I think that's why I'm a little bit lower on them than you are, or even Vegas. But I do want to hear about the Jags a little bit from you.
Jags. So the way I see it, I think they got a good core offense. I mean, we seen it in one of our like previews. They had that game versus the Chargers in the playoffs. That's something to look forward to. I think Trevor Lawrence, he's making the right moves to possibly be better than we've seen in years past. Granted, year one, the coach issue. Last year he was catching some wind. I think this year we'll see it from him. I think he's gonna look good, possibly make a run for MVP, maybe, if possible. And he's got some young dudes around him that I think are really good. You like their defense a lot. I always say that. That's just what you always talk about. I just think they got a solid group.
Schematically, I just love what they do. It's fun to watch.
And so with that, I mean, I just think they might shock some people being this high on the list, even compared to Vegas. But I think they got some juice to where they could make a run,
Yeah, I like it. Sitting at 9, we got a pair of AFC East teams. You finally have the Bills, which you've talked about. And then Vegas and I agree on this one, actually. Yep. We both have the Dolphins. I have the Dolphins. They have the Dolphins at plus 2,100. My rationale in terms of the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins have sneaky, like, one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. I mean, it's a roster that includes Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Bradley Chubb. Right, I've listed all these names of like marquee players, and I haven't even got to the quarterback Tua. Right, and so like I think there are, Javon Holland is another guy that's safety. I mean, they've got some blue chippers on this team. I like Christian Wilkins, then you add that with what Mike McDaniel was able to do offensively. Now they bring in Vic Fangio defensively, and they're
trending
that
up.
Team could cook. For sure. That team could cook. I think there's a lot there talent-wise. I think the big question obviously is like, okay, is Tua going to be healthy?
Yeah.
But they added Mike White. So they kind of added, I think that was huge. True. That's a guy who showed you some stuff backup last year. And so I like the Dolphins a lot. I think from a talent perspective, they may be more talented than some of the teams above them on this list. And I like their staff, their coaching staff. So it's just, again, they play in the AFC. Look at that AFC East. I got the AFC East at 7, 8, and 9. And I haven't even talked about the Patriots. It's not like I think the Patriots are bad. It's just, man, look at that AFC East. Look at the AFC in general. It's tough, man.
Yeah, at 10 though, we talked about it already. We both had the Cowboys. Vegas has the Lions. Clearly they have them higher than we do. The Lions
hype
plus 2,500.
That Lions hype is getting a little bit hot, right? You and I both like the Lions. I think we both picked them to win the division.
True, that is true.
Let's slow our roll, okay?
Yeah, it was 1 year.
They went 9-8 last year, guys.
And it's not like they started good. They had a really slow start too,
Yeah, I'm just I want to see it. Can we just see it? I don't know. I like the Lions. I don't know if I like them at 10th, but
I agree with that. 11 though.
We flipped to page 2.
Yeah, page 2, starting with 11. You have the Jags. I'll also concur with Vegas at plus 2,800. Here I have the Chargers. Do you want me to get into the Chargers? Or do you want to go about the Jags?
Well, I think we kind of heard from you about the Jags. A
Okay.
lot of your thoughts are similar to mine. I think I'm a little bit when it comes to the Jags, I like offensively, like what they've got around Lawrence. I don't know if I'm as quite like you're talking Lawrence MVP. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
quite there with T-Law yet. And that's probably the discrepancy between 8 and 11.
Yeah.
But really, I'm curious here because I have the Chargers next. You have the Chargers here. Vegas also has the Chargers next at plus 2,900. So let's talk about the Chargers. Let's dive in on this team.
All right. Well, it's their year. No. On a serious note, I mean they really are talented. It's just they got those issues at
Those
O line,
demons.
D line, yeah. And as you showed us earlier too, I guess not on this episode, but on the AFC West, they can't stop the run. But I mean, the way I see it, Herbert is good enough to make the playoffs. He just has to get through them. You know what I mean?
Now he's got to win.
Yeah.
Now he's got to
Yeah.
win in the
Exactly.
playoffs. I agree. Yeah. I love Brandon Staley and what he does defensively. I think you're right. They have to run the ball better. They have to stop the run in order for them to have playoff success. I'm curious to see what the Kellen Moore Herbert marriage is going to look like with all the skill position guys around him. Could be very explosive. Another team that it's another team like the Cowboys, like the Bills. You would not be shocked to see this team win the Super Bowl. But you got to see it because they've messed it up so many times
A lot of years of not being
before.
able to do much.
There's some real demons there, and I want to see that. I'd like for those people in my life who are Chargers fans, I wouldn't hate seeing that team win the Super Bowl for those people. So, yeah, I think that we kind of have similar feelings on them.
Yeah, it would be a long time coming for those people.
Yeah, you have the Dolphins at 12.
Yeah, I mean, they got a good offense for sure. Another one of those things. I don't know much about the running back. Defense, like the front seven, I think is solid. Also, I mean, they did add Jalen Ramsey. I could tell you that, but I don't know. I just think they're obviously a good team out of the AFC. I'm just not sure how I feel about the health of Tua for one, and then two, I don't know about their depth at some positions.
Yeah, I got you. When we push it to 13, this is where I finally have the Lions. You have the Giants, and Vegas is just now giving us the Seahawks at plus 2,900, which is actually tied with the Chargers just above them. So let's talk this through. The Lions versus the Giants. Joe, I see you have the Lions at 14, so you have the Lions right after. Why do you like the Giants more than the Lions right now?
I mean, for one, they made it there last year, right? They have a little bit of what's the term? They got some
consistency.
No, not consistency. It's I mean, we've seen it. I guess I should just say that we've seen them do it, right? I know that this is me banking on them bringing back Saquon in time for him to be satisfied with what he makes, right? So it is leaning on a lot, but it's also, I just feel like every now and again, like when we were doing this, together, right, saying who we want where, it was there's got to be another team from the NFC we got to fill somewhere, And I mean, with them making the playoffs last year and figuring it out for that game one, which leads to them losing to the Eagles. I mean, it's just we've seen them do it, and I hope they could pay our guy to get him rolling because without him, there's no way they do as good as this. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, at this point, if he's going to play, it's the franchise tag. So he either signs it and plays, or he says, "No, I'm not playing this year." So
well, I mean, we did do this a little bit ago, so you can't knock me on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I know. We made this list prior to finding out whether or not Saquon would be playing. Obviously, so yes, I get you. I've got the Lions here because even though they did not make the playoffs last year and the Giants did, I think the Lions play in an easier division.
That's for sure.
I think the Lions have a quarterback I trust more in Goff versus Daniel Jones. I think the Lions had a better offseason in terms of adding some players at important positions, and I liked their draft despite what people said. Jahmyr Gibson and my guy at linebacker, blanking on his name right now.
Granton? Was it Simpson? Was it him?
No, from Iowa. I'm totally blank.
Jack Campbell.
Yeah. Adding those two guys, I think those two are both blue chippers. They just play linebacker and running back. It's the thing, but I think they're both going to be really good. CJ Gardner-Johnson, I just think the Lions had an awesome offseason, and I think they're going to be definitively better. I don't know that I could say that about the Giants, and that's where obviously you and I have a difference. When we push it down to 14, who we got?
14, you got the Steelers here showing up. I had the Lions. I mean, I could piggyback your Lions real quick. I will say they are in a better position to make a run. We just had to see them do it,
Yeah.
With the Vegas odds for this 14 spot, though, they had the Browns, who we'll see a little bit later, at plus 3,300.
I think it's not a bad spot. Just looking at the talking about the Browns versus the Steelers, you got to kind of talk about the Lions there.
Yeah.
For me, I do like the Browns from a talent perspective. I have them only a few spots away at 17.
Yeah.
So I can see where Vegas is betting on the Browns just from a talent perspective.
Yeah, a lot of dudes.
I think I like the Steelers more, given that one, I trust Mike Tomlin more than any coach in the league.
Yeah.
Two, I think defensively they were so good last year despite having injuries here and there. And if they can maintain greater health this year, I think they're one of the better defenses in the league. And then offensively, it's year 2 of Kenny Pickett.
Yep. Year
2 of George Pickens, right? You have Najee, you have Pat Freiermuth, you have Deontay Johnson, right? You add the tackle. I like their offense. I think their offense has got a lot of dudes that I like, and they're all young and kind of working and growing together. Yeah. So I think that you could see an exponential leap offensively for them, and then I think defensively they're special. So add that with Mike Tomlin stirring the pot as the head coach, and I like that team. I would bet on that team before I would bet on the Browns right now, even though I can make a very easy argument that the Browns are more talented.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Kenny Pickett, they're very looking forward to what they do with him, starting the whole year, not just week, I don't know, 4 or 5 or something, whenever they threw him in.
No Mitchell Trubisky this year.
Yeah, exactly. At 15, though, this is where we start seeing things split up a little bit, a little more so,
Yeah.
So 15, you got the Saints. I had the Rams, and this is where Vegas has the Raiders.
All right, so let's address that.
The Raiders?
The Raiders at plus 3,300 and being 15th on this list is insane to me. I have the Raiders all the way down in I think it's 30, 31. I don't know what Vegas is seeing here other than that's their hometown team. I don't know. Is it hometown cooking with the odds?
I mean, maybe they trust Jimmy G a lot. I don't know.
So if I guess the argument would be that look at all the talent around Jimmy G. He just has to play as well as he did with the Niners, and they'll be good.
Not going to happen.
The problem is that may be true of their offense, but the Raiders' defense is nowhere near what that 49ers defense was when Jimmy G was there. It's not even close. I just went through when we did the AFC West pod how bad the Raiders defense has been bad for 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Long time.
So that's not just going to change overnight. I hope they
because you brought in a quarterback.
But it's defensively, it's okay, Max Crosby is a blue chipper.
Yeah.
And outside of that guy, it's Chandler Jones is getting older. Right? They drafted the big fella out of Texas Tech, and I like him. But they got to defensively, their secondary is not good. They're going to get torched. Yeah. And offensively, you're basically counting on Jimmy G, who you're not even sure is healthy right now.
Yeah.
And beyond him,
worried about him playing.
Yeah, and beyond him, if it's not him, dude, I don't feel great about their quarterback situation at all.
Yeah.
And we know in this league, if you don't have a quarterback, even if you're Kyle Shanahan,
I will say the same thing.
It's tough to win. And so I just don't understand. I can't see why people are so high on the Raiders. It just not for me.
Crazy. Yeah.
Not for me right there. So, but getting to like who we actually have ranked here. I have the Saints, you have the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Rams coming next. The reason I have the Saints as high as I do, the division is terrible.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think they're the best team in a bad division.
Yeah, I could agree.
I think Derek Carr around a pretty talented offense with a defense that's consistently like pretty good, not great, but pretty good.
Yeah.
I think has the ability to run that division and therefore have a pretty good record and therefore be going into the playoffs, as like a 3 or 4 seed.
Yeah.
And being able to win a playoff game or two. And at that point, now you're like one of the final 8 teams. So then being 15th is low. So to me, that's where I see the Saints. I think adding Derek Carr gave them a legitimate quarterback, which is what that team was missing last year.
Yeah.
And so that's where I see them. Where do you see the Rams?
The Rams, I mean, they have a good offense, as we talked about. They're going to have a young defense. But being that they're in the NFC, that gives them a little step up over, having to pick someone from the AFC. With the Rams, I will say bringing back, hopefully, no, I shouldn't say bringing back. Having Stafford come back more healthy than he was last year, it's a good sleeper pick because not many people are going to think of that. And you talked about Cam Akers having a year going into that contract. They do have a really good offense. I'm sure they'll figure that out this year. Hopefully, the line stays healthy because that's last year they had like 15 different lineups or something crazy. But their downfall is going to be the defense. But as we said, like their path, considering the NFC side of things, it's a lot easier than what it will be for most,
Yeah, I have them right below at 16. And for similar reasons, I think they're offensively, they're going to be one of the better offenses in the league. I think they will return to that form. I think there's just so many things working against them last year from an injury standpoint.
Yeah, that's
from
for sure.
an attitude standpoint in terms of Cam, at least at the beginning of the year.
Yeah,
I think you finally
4 games.
You finally get like, okay, the O-line's healthy. Cam's attitude is right and he's ready to roll. He's in a contract year. Stafford's healthy. Kupp is healthy. McVay is refreshed. They bring in a new OC in LaFleur who knows the McVay system. Like you put all that together, I think this offense is going to be tremendous. And then I think defensively they're young and they're not going to be great. Not right away.
Yeah.
Even though you've got Aaron Donald, they're going to struggle on defense a little bit. And so that's why you got a great offense, a bad defense, that puts you right about 16, right in the middle of the league,
Yeah.
You have the Broncos here sitting at 16. In Vegas, this is where they have the Saints at plus 3,500.
Yeah, before I tackle the Broncos, I will say, I don't know where if you're getting some beat writers from the Rams or what, but you talked about Puka. I don't remember his last name.
Puka Nacua.
Yeah, and that same day, later on, I got an email from the Rams saying Puka Nacua, like looking good in the training camp. They're like, bro, this fool told us this earlier today. I was like, what is he reading to beat me to this from them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Broncos.
I just follow all the people on Twitter. Shout out like people like Jordan Rodriguez who give us all the Rams news.
Yeah, so Broncos here at 16. Couple things. First one, that's probably a little bit of a homer pick, not gonna lie. a little higher than most for that reason. But I mean, we got Sean Payton coming in the building. We've seen our guy Russ going out doing things with other teammates. Don't necessarily think that was going on last year. It was him building social media, for the whole Broncos country. Let's ride. So I mean, I have them trending in a better direction offensively. I mean, granted, last year we got rid of Chubb. We sent him to the Dolphins. But we had some good pickups in the draft defensively. Our guy Moss, shout out, milk over there. But I mean, I think the Broncos have a better chance to flip it around this year with Sean Payton coming in. Now, if it doesn't happen, that's why they're in the middle. I expect good things out of them, but if it doesn't happen, can't knock them.
Okay. Hitting 17. We get the Browns for me.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Saints. Vegas, this is where they have the Giants at plus 4,200.
Yep.
give me your take on the Saints. You heard mine. Anything different for you in terms of why they're a little bit lower?
I will say, they just had. I mean, in terms of the past, they had a lot going on with their quarterback position. A lot of questions. Derek
Mm-hmm.
Carr coming in makes it a little bit better, right? It solidifies who they're going to have as long as he doesn't get hurt.
Yep.
I just think you got the question of Kamara, if he'll be able to, or when he'll be able to play, whatever the question may be.
Yeah, that's true.
And maybe, with Derek Carr, maybe our guy Michael Thomas over there, maybe he could do something.
Dude, that guy hasn't
It
felt like he was a top receiver in like 5 years now. It's
Ever since you
crazy.
lost Drew Brees.
Like it's crazy because it's like 2019 was the last year he was just dominant, and
Yeah.
it's like it's there, but like can he bring it back at this point? We'll
Yeah.
see.
So yeah, that's the only thing. I think it's just because Kamara is that really dynamic. We've seen him do crazy things.
No
That one
doubt.
game he had 5 tutties. A bunch of things he could do offensively, whether it's in the backfield or at the wideout position. But it's just, I don't know, lingering questions that a lot of outside noise disturbing them.
Yeah.
That
I've got the
was it.
Browns. I kind of talked about them a little bit earlier. I think they're uber talented. I
Yeah.
mean, massive talent in that team. You got Myles Garrett, you've got Nick Chubb, you've got Amari Cooper, you've got
Njoku.
David Njoku and Donovan Peoples-Jones offensively. I mean, they've got some real dudes. Elijah Moore
Yeah.
coming in from the Jets. Obviously, Deshaun. If Deshaun is right, if we get 2020 Deshaun Watson, this offense
It
is
could be
potentially
crazy.
one of the best offenses in the
Yeah.
league. And you still got Myles Garrett on the other side on defense, who's a defensive player of the year candidate. So from a talent perspective, this is a team that's only 2 years removed from being in the playoffs with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. All
That's
right.
true.
So it's not like this path is crazy. The question just really comes down to like, what do you think Deshaun Watson's going to do this year?
Exactly.
And can
That's
they
why I
put it
have
all
them a
together?
little lower. Yeah.
And I could see him being better. I think he's motivated. I just think it's the AFC, and especially the
That
AFC
division.
North is
Yeah.
brutal. I've got the Ravens and Bengals in the top 4. I've got the Steelers at 14. I've got the Browns at 17. I almost have all 4 of those teams in the top half of the league, really
Yeah.
close to the top half of the
True.
league. That's a hard thing to do from one division. And so I think they're just in a tough division, which makes it a lot harder. Their path to me is so much harder, even though they have so much talent.
Yeah, no, I agree. Looking ahead at 18, you got the Patriots here. I have the Steelers, and Vegas has the Packers at plus 4,500.
I like Vegas kind of being a little bit bold here and saying we believe in Jordan Love. I kind of like it.
He's Chicago's daddy, bro.
Oh, geez, man, the Bears fans are gonna hate you. I've got the Patriots, and much like I just talked about the AFC North, the AFC East is brutal too.
Yeah, that's for
Those 2
sure.
divisions are probably duking it out as the best divisions in football right now. I have 3 teams in the top 9, 7, 8, 9, and then the Patriots
Yeah,
here sitting at 18. And again, I think the Patriots are better. Bill O'Brien's a real offensive coordinator. Mac
true.
Jones should be much better. I think obviously Bill Belichick is as motivated as ever to be great. And defensively, I love some of their young talent on defense. I love their pass rush group. That's a hint for later.
Yeah.
And so I just think that the Patriots have the goods. They just play in such a hard division. And I think they have the worst quarterback in the division right now. Even
True.
though it's not necessarily to say that Mac Jones isn't good. It's just that I don't think he's as good as Tua or Josh Allen or Rodgers. So when you got the worst quarterback in the division, it makes it hard for you to be better than 4th in that division.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I guess, and the thing is, he did so well his rookie year. It come back to last year, the OC situation might not help that either. But
Yeah.
when you take a step back year 2, there is going to be questions surrounding that. And then for me, having the Steelers here, I mean, I will say, like their division's tough, and I I wish I'd kept track, but at this point we got all the good teams pretty much out of the AFC for the most part. And the NFC, we got people filling in here and there for just because it's the NFC. I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
Steelers have been really consistent over our probably lifetime, and so I'm sure they could get things done. It's just, a young quarterback still, year 2.
You're
I
not
do
a Pickett
expect Kenny
believer yet.
exactly, but I do expect him to get better. But he is going to go into year 2. You know what I mean?
I got you. We're looking at 19. I've got the Giants. You've got the Browns. Vegas has the Patriots showing up here at plus 4,800. I think we've talked pretty at this point about those three teams pretty well. Anything that you feel like you need to add
for the Browns?
Yeah, just in general about these three teams. I mean, in terms of what you're seeing.
I mean, I think the Patriots, they are a little lower for me, similar to what we just talked about, but I don't know. They're tough division. That's why I have them lower for one.
Mm-hmm.
And then however long it takes them to get their ball rolling with the whole new OC, get things rolling offensively. I couldn't tell you who the running back is. I know. Is it still Ramondre?
Yeah.
Okay, well then I guess I could, but they got to get back to running the ball.
Yeah.
That's how
I
I
got
see
the
it.
I got the Giants so low. I just don't really believe in them. I think
it makes sense.
Saquon was a big deal for them, and if he doesn't play this year and he holds out, dramatically changes them. I think they made a huge mistake paying Daniel Jones that money, even though it kind of felt like they had to. I think they got a little bit of fool's gold winning a wild card game last year, and I just think there's some stuff that's going to regress to the mean. I love their defense, but offensively, I'm not a believer yet.
Mm-hmm.
So they could prove me wrong, and maybe I will be wrong. But I just like the Cowboys and the Eagles so much better than them at this point in that division.
Yeah,
it's tough to me for me to envision them winning more than 7 or 8 games this year. But we'll see. At 20, I've got the Packers. You've got the Vikings, and Vegas agrees with you with the Vikings at plus 5,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the Vikings. Granted, they're losing Dalvin Cook offensively. That's not good. They got Kirk Cousins going into a contract year. Justin Jefferson still arguably the best receiver in the league. Now, I don't really know how I feel about them defensively, but the reason I have them this low, they did really well last year. But then again, that's all the close games that they ended up winning, where inversely the Broncos lost. I think their division very favorable for them to make it here at this spot. Granted, you have the Packers. I could let you get into them real quick.
I like the Packers. I like Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be better than anticipated based on some tape we watched from last year.
True.
They're young though.
Yeah.
They're going to go through some growing pains. But I do like them as the second best team in that division right now. And I trust in LaFleur too as a head coach OC. So obviously I'm not as high on them as Vegas is, but I'm higher on them than you are. And so that's kind of where we're at. 21. I finally have the Broncos. You finally have the Patriots. Vegas agrees with me here. They've got the Broncos at plus 5,500. I think the Broncos showed a commitment to winning this offseason. They signed a lot of veteran players that could be very helpful for Russ, Sean Payton. I think it really just comes down to I'm kind of with you. This can go really well or really bad with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson this year. I think over the tenure of Sean Payton's career, this team is going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if it's this year, and I don't know if it's Russell Wilson yet.
Yeah.
I like this is a trial year. Russell Wilson's either going to be so much better and improved with Sean Payton, or it's just going to be clear that he doesn't have it anymore. And that's what we're finding out.
Bro.
That's what we're going to find out this year.
Yeah.
I am excited to see that because their Broncos are either going to be. I feel like there's no in between for that team. They're either going to kind of surprise you and be a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think I projected them at 8-9 or 9-8, and I kind of rode the fence on that because I really didn't know.
Yeah.
They're either going to be a lot better or they're going to be bad again. And I think they will be better. But I'm not confident enough in it to put him higher than 21, especially because
Yeah.
it's the AFC. They got
true.
it's such a tough
And they got
conference.
Patty Mahomes in their division.
And Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, page 3. We're on the back end of these bad boys here. Page 3, we got 22 looking at the Titans from you. I have the Panthers, and Vegas has the Bears at plus 6,000.
I mean, this is pre-DeAndre signing.
Yeah, true.
Maybe bumps the Titans up a couple spots for me, if I'm being honest.
Uh-huh.
I might slot them somewhere like 19, 20 with DeAndre, just because I do think getting a number one receiver changes their offense a little bit, changes the ceiling of it. But it's Mike Vrabel. They'll be right defensively. The biggest question for me is health. Derrick Henry going to be healthy?
True.
Who's playing quarterback? Can they produce enough offensively to be a top half of the league type team instead of a bottom half? We'll see.
Yeah. That's a time will tell thing. For me, the Panthers, I have them here. Just simply easy path for their division, Ties back with the Saints being up ahead at like 15 that we had them. I think, Bryce Young, probably the best quarterback to come out of the draft. I mean, the guy went 1. I do think that for them being in the NFC South, it makes this the reason I have them so high. But they're going to have a young quarterback. There's going to be growing pains for sure. It's just simply the path for them to get there is why I have them this high. But the Bears, you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So you have the Bears at 25. I have them at 26. Vegas has them at 22 here. I think the case for the Bears being better this year, they did add some talent in the offseason on both sides of the ball. Then the big thing is just like, hey, is Justin Fields going to take a major step forward?
True.
I don't know. I'm not sold.
I'm not either. Yet. I mean, that's why we have them lower than that. But Justin Fields, the way it plays out in my head is that you could say he's similar to Jalen Hurts, but the weapons is not close at all.
I agree. I think it's not a Justin Fields problem as much as it is a offensive talent weaponry. Yes, and like DJ Moore helps. Don't get me wrong. DJ Moore helps, but it's not AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. you know what I'm saying? Like it's not the same. I do think Justin Fields could be really good. I just don't know if we're ever going to get to see it in Chicago.
Yeah, true.
And that's kind of my worry, is that they won't get good enough around him quick enough for him to be the guy. So we'll see. Moving down the list, at 23, and I think we can kind of go through these teams a little bit quicker here.
Yeah.
I got the Vikings. You have the Titans. Vegas has the Steelers. We've kind of said what we need to say about those teams. 24. I've got the Panthers. You've got the Packers. Vegas agrees with me. The Panthers plus 8,000. Bryce Young, he's young, but if he's good, their defense is really good. They've got decent weapons around them. There is a path where they could be the team in this bottom third that actually ends up being a playoff team. Yeah. So I do kind of agree with what you were talking about earlier. There is a path for them. I think there's a similar case to be made for the Falcons, who I have at 25. You have the Bears there, and Vegas finally has the Rams at plus 8,500, sorry. I think there's if Desmond Ritter's good for the Falcons and they've made the boosts on defense that we think they might have made, there's a supporting cast around him where maybe the Falcons are the surprise team out of.
And Bijan, Cordarrelle could probably go outside now, not just play running back.
Yeah, there's a lot to kind of like about that Falcons team. There's a lot of talent. 26, I've got the Bears. You've got the Commanders. Vegas has the Bucks at plus 8,500. 27, got the Texans. You've got the Colts. Vegas has the Falcons plus 9,000. 28, I've got the Colts. Yes, young quarterbacks who we like. At 28, I've got the Colts. You've got the Raiders. Vegas has the Titans at plus 9,000. Again, these are odds pre DeAndre Hopkins signing. I imagine those odds are
I don't
greater.
think they changed. I saw a lot of tweets that same day. Yeah, I seen tweets that same day. It was like before DeAndre. I guess whatever they were using, it might have been FanDuel or something else. They had him at plus 8,000, and then they're like after DeAndre plus 8,000.
Interesting. And then I've got the Commanders at 29. You've got the Texans. They've got the Colts at plus 9,500. At 30, I've got the Cardinals. You've got the Falcons. They've got the Commanders. At 31, I've got the Raiders. You've got the Buccaneers. They've got the Cardinals at plus 15,000.
Yeah.
And then at 32, last in the league, I have the Buccaneers. You have the Cardinals. Vegas has the Texans at plus 20,000. Anything at the bottom of this list here stand out to you, Joe?
I mean, there is a conglomerate of things that, we had them differently, where the Vegas also had them mixed in along there. But I mean, what it all comes down to is just like the Bucks definitely don't have a quarterback that anyone's confident in. Their defense is still solid, but are they going to get good reps at quarterback? We don't know. Raiders, we kind of spoke about that earlier, where Vegas had them really high. Yeah. Washington, same thing. Sam Howell, is he going to be good? We don't know. Texans, Colts, young dudes.
The quarterback situation.
I think Atlanta is
the bottom 5 or 6 teams. There's a common theme there.
Yeah. Atlanta, they have a fun group of people, but will they get wins? We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we feel it's funny because you kind of summarize the bottom 7, 6 teams in the same terms. It's just like, dude, how do you feel about their quarterback? And you're like, I don't. If your answer is I don't know, generally that's not good.
Yep.
And that means you are going to end up in that bottom half. And so those are kind of where all those teams sit right now. Yep. Now, the path for any of those teams to being good is the quarterback is actually good, and surprises, and there's real stuff there. So
I was going to say that ties back to the Commanders when they had our guy, man, what's his name?
Heineke?
No. Yeah, Taylor Heineke. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He had some legs running with them last year, but ultimately my guy's in Atlanta now, and Sam Howell's at the helm, and we'll see what happens there. But they have a good core of dudes. That's a little sneak peek right there too.
Speaking of the good core of dudes, that's our next rank 'em. We're going to rank top 10 skill groups. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll go back and forth. I think rank for rank here. I'll explain, you explain. You ready to go?
Yep. Let's do it.
All right. So this is what we've got. Number 1, I have the Eagles with a core of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and DeAndre Swift. I think it's the best skill group in the league. I think you could argue, they called them Batman and Batman between A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You could argue both those guys are legit number 1 receivers. Dallas Goedert is one of the best tight ends in the league. He's a top 10 guy for sure. And then DeAndre Swift has not quite been a top 10 back. He has that kind of potential. I think playing with Jalen Hurts and playing in this offense, with the dynamic element of him in the pass game,
for sure,
he could potentially be much better. And the Eagles have been very successful with Georgia players. So that's my number 1. Who you got?
I got the Eagles as well. I mean, there's no other way to put it. They have the best, I guess arguably the best. Your number 2, they could take the helm a little bit depending on what happens with their running back. But yeah, I think they got the best receiving core for sure. And adding DeAndre Swift just gives them another thing to look at,
Yeah. At 2, I've got the Bengals. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, who just took a pay cut to be back.
Yep.
That's probably the best receiving core in the league at this point. And Joe Mixon is a really good back.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I think those guys around Joe Burrow, I mean, I could make a case for them being 1. I could. I like the spread with the Eagles a little bit more in terms of like their third best pass catcher is a tight end, and the Bengals live in a lot more 11 personnel with the 3 receivers all being on the field. But I mean, Jamar Chase is a legitimate dude. T. Higgins is a legitimate dude, and Tyler Boyd is one of the better slot receivers in the league. So yeah, I like that group. You and I have the same 2-3. We just have them flipped. So I made my case for the Bengals. You make your case for?
I got the Niners at number 2. I got Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. I mean, we've seen them year in, year out do the same thing. I mean, we've seen the Bengals too. They're just a younger group of dudes, you know. But same thing. I mean, bringing in Christian McCaffrey last year just made them that much better, and they're crazy on offense. George Kittle, probably the best blocking tight end. Granted, that helps his team a million times percent. So yeah, that was my number 2, and then we had them flip. So
Yeah.
same things we could talk about.
I mean, I think the cool thing with the Niners is you've seen that group do it with like 3 different quarterbacks. So like fair, I could kind of
Yeah,
be like, wow, you might be able to make the argument for them being one just because they've been able to do it without stability at the quarterback, whereas the Bengals
yeah,
and Eagles have had that stability. So let's drop down to 4. I have the Chargers, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and now Quentin Johnston that they drafted. I also don't want to leave out Gerald Everett and Donald Parham as their tight ends are good players
yeah.
too. I like this Chargers skill group, man. Austin Eckler can run, he can catch the ball, he
Yep.
can block. Keenan Allen is a demon from the slot running routes. He's been doing it forever. Mike Williams is a legitimate deep ball, like jump ball threat. And then I think Quentin
Yeah.
Johnston's going to add an explosive vertical element to this offense with Justin Herbert's arm. That dude can throw it like 65 yards in the air.
Yeah.
I think Quentin Johnston's going to be okay in this offense with Kellen Moore calling. So I think that skill group is, for sure, number 4 for me. Who you got?
Yeah, for me, I had the Cowboys. I talked about it earlier where I was like, who's this guy? I don't know. But we got CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, Brandon Cooks, and is that Gallup, the other guy?
Yeah, Michael Gallup.
Who's their tight end? I don't know. I know Schultz got out the building.
It's Schoonmaker, who they drafted from Michigan this year. In the
Okay.
third round, I believe.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I think they got some good receivers. I think Tony Pollard is a great fill for Zeke. I mean, we seen him at the end of the year start balling. Granted, he got hurt, so we'll see how he comes back. But apart from me not liking Dak, these dudes are all really good.
This doesn't include the quarterbacks. This is only the skill group, so
True.
Fair point. At 5, I've got the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are too good to go any farther on this list without, like,
whoa, you throwing shots, bro?
Yeah,
You got shots?
I might be, because those two guys, it's the best combination of 2 receivers in the league. Like, if you're talking about, all right, like if you're going deeper, like the Bengals have 3 guys,
Yeah.
and like the Niners and the Eagles have better other guys at these other positions. But just 2 receivers, I don't know if I'm taking anybody above these 2, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. And then this is kind of an unconventional thing. Rather than having a tight end or another receiver, they got 2 running backs that I like, and that is Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. I know a lot of people talked about Dalvin Cook coming here. I don't know if it makes sense with the Dolphins, because I think I like both these 2 running backs. Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. I think are both pretty good.
Is he the second guy?
No, they've had both those guys. They're both former
I just don't know
49ers.
Both
former 49ers that Mike McDaniel kind of was able to bring over in free agency and then trade for Jeff Wilson. So that's who I have at 5. Who you got?
I got the Bills. So let's see. We got Gabe. Is that his first name? I was about to say Gabe Vincent. I know that. Gabe Davis. There you go. Stefan. We got Cook. Not Dalvin Cook, the other one. And is that the rookie tight end you threw on there?
Kincaid, yeah.
There you go. Dalton Kincaid out of Utah. I mean, granted, I know we talked about them having drama going on. The only thing about them is I don't feel too high on Cook. But apart from that, we've seen Stefan be top 3 probably receiver in the league. Gabe Davis, really good deep threat. Granted, you have Stefan on the other side, helps free you up. And Dalton Kincaid looking to be good over there as a young tight end.
Yeah, I have the Bills at 6, so I'll just kind of reiterate what you said. I do think James Cook in an expanded role could be better this year. I do think they're expecting him to be better. They still have Dawson Knox as well, but I think you don't draft Dalton Kincaid in the first round unless he's going to be your dude.
Yeah.
So Dawson Knox is still there for now. We'll see how he factors in with Dalton Kincaid. Maybe they run some more 12 personnel stuff. I don't know. But yeah, this is just an array of weapons for Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Drama set aside, they are extremely talented. Who do you have at
Yep.
6?
At 6, I got the Chargers. I mean, similar to what you said. I think that I guess my only difference would be just I think there's obviously I guess two groups I think that are better than them, but they do have a lot of vertical uh, threats on their team. And Austin Eckler, I like him a lot at running back. It's just it's probably me just hating on the Chargers, honestly.
I love your honesty. At 7, I've got the Cowboys. CD, Pollard, Cooks, Gallup. Love the weaponry there. They are a little short on tight end this year, losing Dalton Schultz, but
Yeah.
hopefully Schoonmaker comes in and gives them that threat there. Who do you have at 7?
Ooh, I got the Jags. I mean, this kind of ties into we having the Jags high up on the list we seen on our first rank. I got Christian Kirk, Travis
Yeah.
Etienne Jr., Evan Ingram, and I don't remember.
Calvin Ridley.
Calvin
Coming
Ridley.
back
There
off
you
the
go.
suspension.
Yeah, no, I think they're really good dudes out there. And like I said, if I expect my guy T-Law to start having some MVP legs, I expect these dudes to be really good, even better than they were last year.
You throw Zay Jones in there too.
Yeah.
At 8, I have the Browns. You got Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I love the Browns skill players. They got a collection of talent there. No more Kareem Hunt, which means Nick Chubb's going to get more carries, going to be even more of a weapon in the passing game.
I got Felton,
and
probably some playing time. Felton, probably some playing time.
Demetric Felton, another weapon on that cast. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I like the Browns group of skill guys. Who you got at
8? I got the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, we got Mark Andrews, our guy OBJ, J.K. Dobbins, Zay Flowers.
Yep.
There you go. And did they bring in another dude too? Or am I tripping?
They also have Rashad Bateman, their rookie receiver from last year, coming into year 2. So yeah, they got some dudes over there, no question.
Yeah, I think them all offensively are gonna be crazy. OBJ, coming off the injury after he had a whole year to chill, but we'll see his game shape. But I think they're really good out there. At 9, I piggyback you with the Browns. All good dudes. I mean, this doesn't include quarterback, so I do feel really good about those dudes. Sean, we'll see. He will have a whole year to play this year, though. That's another thing.
9, I've got the Seahawks. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kenneth Walker the third, Zach Charbonnet, Cody Parkinson. Dude, I like this group of skill guys for the Seahawks. I think it's part of what makes Geno Smith so successful, and their offensive coordinator understands how to, use all these guys. Adding JSN to this team from what it was last year, it's a great group of guys. I don't know how they didn't make your list. Spoiler alert. At 10, I've got the Ravens, who you had at 8. I'm with you. Mark Andrews is arguably the best tight end in the league. I mean, he's right there with Kelsey and Kittle, right?
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins is a young back who's been productive when he's healthy. The big thing for him is staying healthy.
Yeah.
OBJ, another guy, is like, if he's healthy, he's good. Yep. Zay Flowers comes in. We talked about him in the draft. He was like one of my favorite receivers. He runs filthy routes. Rashad Bateman coming off a tough rookie year where he was productive but also injured. If he's healthy, that helps. Put all that together with Todd Monken calling those plays. I think he's going to use these dudes right, and that's why they're at 10 for me.
Yeah, at 10, I had the Commanders. So I got Jahan Dotson, Robinson, I think Brian Robinson, right? Terry McLaurin, and I don't know who the other dude is, but I'm just naming dudes off the top head. but I think they do have really good receivers. It's just that who's gonna get them the ball is obviously the question for them. I like Brian Robinson. I mean, my guy, you could say he's probably 50 Cent. I mean, my dude got hit and he's still out there, So I don't know. I think they got some dogs in them. It's just a matter of how they get the ball is what's gonna hold them back a little bit.
Yeah, I got you.
One thing I do want to mention before we flip the script is you talked about our guy Kelsey. Where are those dudes? I don't see the Chiefs on this screen.
Well, they're not on the screen for a reason. We talked about our big question with them is what are those receivers going to be this year?
Yeah, no, they have our guy Pacheco and Kelsey, and then the other receivers are not top dudes. We'll say that.
Not yet. I mean, they could be, but not right.
Yeah.
Not as of now. All right, we move it on to the top 10 pass rushers, or pass rush groups, I should say. So we talked about having like 2 edge guys and an interior guy creating pressure, and we gave our top 10 on this. Again, we can kind of go squad for squad here. So one, very interesting, have the Eagles again.
You mean the Bulldogs?
Yeah, Hassan Reddick, Jalen Carter, and Josh Sweat. I mean, there's a lot of heat on that D line because you add Fletcher Cox into the mid. Yeah, you got a lot of stuff going on there. And they also just drafted my guy from Georgia as well. Like they got a lot going on there, interior and on the edge. I mean, I don't think it gets any better than the Eagles. That's all that needs to be said.
Yep, too good. At 2, you had the Dolphins. I had the Cowboys. Look, I'm gonna be honest. Everyone listening, watching, however you may get this podcast, I struggled with this. I was just, I was like this, eyes closed, picking people. But I do know, I mean, we got Micah Parsons for the Cowboys, Kalijah Kancey. Couldn't tell you who that third dude is on the screen, but they have a good interior rush defense. It's just a matter of, what the secondary could do for them, I guess. I don't know.
I got the Dolphins. I went with Chubb, Christian Wilkins, and my guy on the outside who was a rookie last year. Who am I thinking of? Phillips. So I like this Dolphins pass rush group, especially with Vic Fangio coming in. I think he's going to do fun stuff that lets these guys create pressure. At 3, I have the Patriots. They have a young group. I mean, you got Matthew Judon, Mr. Red Sleeves himself, Dedrick Wise Jr., and then Christian Barmore. I like that group of players. I think it's a young group that's growing together. And with Bill Belichick at the helm, sky's the limit. And I think they can get real pressure on quarterbacks this year. So I got the Patriots for 3. Who do you have?
I got the Niners. I'm gonna be honest. Like I said, I couldn't tell you many of these faces, but I do know I got Bosa. I can tell you that one.
Bosa, Arik Armstead, and Drake Jackson.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, they're one of the most solid front sevens in the whole league. I think.
True.
That's why they were so high for me. I mean, Bosa, really good dude. Balls on the edge, but yeah, like I said, I was kind of just picking people who I thought fit. But at 4,
go ahead.
I was gonna say at 4 you got the Cowboys, and I have the Chargers over here.
So I went Cowboys. Micah Parsons, arguably the best pass rusher in the league at this point. DeMarcus Lawrence opposite of him, who's also a really good pass rusher in his own right, and then inside Mozzie Smith out of Michigan.
You should have corrected me.
I thought you were just throwing names out earlier, so
I was doing my best to try to figure out who these people are. That's a fact.
So Mozzie is not necessarily known for his pass rushing at Michigan, but between those other 2 dudes on the outside, and Mozzie's going to get a lot of one-on-ones, so I think he could give you a little surprise pass rush this year. You had the Chargers there. You got another Bosa brother.
Yeah, the other Bosa. Hey, this one, Joey before, or is it?
You got Joey Bosa. Yeah.
All right. Khalil back and the other dude,
Morgan Fox.
There you go. Don't recognize him.
Oh my gosh, Joe.
This is fun, huh?
Yeah. 5. I got the Titans. You got Harold Landry, Arden Key, Simmons. And then the monster Jeffrey Simmons. You also have the Titans at 5. Jeffrey Simmons' interior pressure is insane, so that's
he's a beast.
Gotta have him in there. At 6, I have the Steelers: T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, and my guy Ogunjobi on the outside. It's a fierce group. I love the Steelers defense, and they get after passers.
Yeah, Watt is a good dude out there, bro. He's a beast. I wish we got to see him play. I think it was 2 years ago where he got hurt. That fool.
Oh yeah.
I was hoping we could see him get Defensive Player of the Year. But yeah, those dudes are gonna be crazy over there, especially with that whole division.
Yeah.
At 6, I had the Bengals. We got, we got Hubbard. Let's
Yeah,
see.
Hubbard.
Yeah,
Hendrickson.
I don't know. I know who the linebacker is, but I couldn't tell
Sam
you right now.
Hubbard, Trey Hendrickson, and DJ Reader inside.
There you
That's
go.
who I have at 7. Hubbard and Hendrickson are awesome on the edge. DJ Reader is really underrated inside. Those are 3 really good defensive linemen, really good pass rushers. I like that Bengals front. Lou Anarumo does a great job with those guys. At 8, I've got the Niners. You got Bosa, Armstead, and Drake Jackson. You also have Javon Hargrave as another guy inside. This group probably last year would have been at in the top 3, but I think losing a couple guys on the edge makes it a little harder to put them there. If Drake Jackson is the truth, they can jump right back into that top 3. You have the Steelers at 8.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm gonna be honest, I was just piggybacking as much as possible. I don't know if we mentioned I had the Falcons at 7. I'm not even gonna attempt to tell you who those people are, but
I like what you do with the Falcons. You got Grady Jarrett inside. You got oh my gosh, Calais Campbell. And they just brought in my other dude. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking right now. But yeah.
It's okay. Hey, you're doing better than me. I wasn't gonna even try. I couldn't tell you who they
I'm
were.
totally blanking. He was played for the Titans most recently, but I just can't. I don't have it right now. At 9, this is going so well. I got Bosa. I got the Chargers. I got Joey Bosa, Morgan Fox, and Khalil Mack. At 9, you have the Buccaneers.
Yeah, this is where we got Kalijah Cansey, right? No?
Yes.
I could get it correct. The other 2 dudes, I don't know, man.
Shaq Barrett and Troyan Shoylinka. Oh my gosh.
There you go. Yeah, those are my group at number 9. Another defense that was really solid, adding Kalijah Cansey, another piece to that defense. Interior.
Yeah.
Yeah. At 10.
And Shaq Barrett's been doing it for a minute, so.
Yeah, at 10, that's where you got these dudes, the Bucks. And then I had the Dolphins here.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay.
That was fun, right?
Our expert analysis on the pass rush group went a little, little haywire, but we've got one more ranking for you today. And
the QB tiers.
The one that everyone wants to see, I think. It's the QB tier. All right. Now, anybody who's kind of
gave them a little change of names.
Anybody who's kind of tuned in with us before knows that I like to compare quarterbacks to actors. All right.
Yep.
So the rules of the game are this. There are 6 tiers. All right.
Mm-hmm.
There's your A++ list tier, and that's the DiCaprio tier. Leonardo DiCaprio. As in, if this guy's in your movie, you've got a hit.
Yeah.
We're talking Titanic. We're talking The Revenant.
Inception.
We're talking The Departed, Inception. It doesn't matter what the supporting cast is. This guy is so good that you have a chance to go win the Super Bowl. That's what Leonardo DiCaprio does for a movie. That's what these quarterbacks do for your football team. All right. Yeah. And so the 5 guys in this tier for me, Patrick Mahomes, undisputed, number 1.
Yeah, easy.
Joe Burrow, number 2. The only guy who's been able to beat Mahomes, right? In fact, Burrow is 3-1 versus Kansas City in his career.
Yeah.
He was in the Super Bowl in 21. He was a Pro Bowler in 22. He's got back-to-back seasons of 4,000 plus yards and 34 plus touchdowns. So yeah, Burrow's my number 2. At 3, also in this tier, we've got Josh Allen. Guy's been to 2 Pro Bowls, 3 straight 4,000 yard seasons, and 35 plus yard touchdowns. And 35 plus touchdowns, I should say. Now, the big thing for him, he hasn't been able to beat the other 2 guys in front of him in the playoffs, and he's got to be able to do it. If he wants to get to that number 1 spot, he's got to go through those other 2 guys. At 4, I've got Jalen Hurts. Yes, that guy. He's gotten better every year. Pro Bowl and Super Bowl trip in 22. He had one of the best performances by any quarterback ever in the Super Bowl. Really, the
Crazy.
only mistake he made was that fumble. And other than that, he was almost flawless. I expect him to be even better and going into year 4 here for him. At 5, the old wily veteran, Mr. Rogers neighborhood, Aaron Rodgers himself, discount double check. He's got 4 MVPs. He's got 10 Pro Bowls. He's got 1 Super Bowl win. And he's a little older, but I think he's still got it. I think he still elevates your team to a Super Bowl contender, and I think that's what he's doing for the Jets. All right. Moving down to tier 2. This is the elite tier. This is your actor who, if he's in the movie, you would expect it to be good. It's not a guarantee, but he's really good. And this is the thing. If he stars in a movie with another bigger
moves
star,
the needle in a way.
Yeah, he moves the needle. He could even be like a really, really good supporting guy to a bigger star. Like, for instance, Leonardo DiCaprio in The Departed. This should give you a hint. It's Matt Damon, the Matt Damon tier. All right. We're talking Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Matthew Stafford, and Tua Tagovailoa. So we'll run through it quick. Lamar Jackson, he's got 1 MVP. He's got 2 Pro Bowls. He's got a new OC who's going to allow him to actually be a passer. And the biggest question for him and what's keeping him from the DiCaprio tier right now, he's got to be healthy. We see a healthy Lamar with Todd Monken. By the end of this year, he could be a DiCaprio tier guy. Next, we got Justin Herbert. He's got 3 straight years of 4,000 plus yards passing. He's a guy with 1 Pro Bowl, but he doesn't have a playoff win yet. All right, so we need to see him have some success in the playoff before we can say you're a DiCaprio tier guy. Number 2, or I should say number 3 in this tier, Trevor Lawrence. All right, Jody has him as an MVP candidate this year.
Yeah,
he's got
a huge big things.
He had a huge jump with coaching from year 1 to year 2. Dougie P made him much better quarterback. All right, he's got 1 Pro Bowl. He's got a playoff win, something Justin Herbert doesn't have, and he went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes in the divisional round, and I kind of liked it. I think he could take another leap in year 3. Next, we got Matthew Stafford. Man's a Super Bowl champion. He's got 1 Pro Bowl, 9 seasons of 4,000 plus yards, 2 years of 40 touchdowns or more. The big question for him is he going to be healthy? He had the elbow thing last year. Then he had the spinal contusion during the season. All reports are he's healthy. I'm not buying this whole like the Rams tried to trade him, XYZ. I think he and McVay are a match made in heaven. I think he returns to form with Cooper Kupp this year. And who knows? Maybe that guy can try and insert himself into the DiCaprio conversation. Next, and last but not least in this tier, Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, the biggest question for him is his health. He had too many concussions last year. That was a big deal. I do think is a little, I don't want to say fluky. I just think it just the way that it happened and the back-to-back nature that it happened made it extremely serious. And if he can just make it through the first 4 or 5 games this year without, injury-free, I think he's going to be okay. He's done a lot of things to obviously learn how to protect himself in the offseason. But when he's healthy, he's highly productive. This guy threw for 3,500 yards and 25 touchdowns in 13 games. Massive production. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the league when healthy last year. All right. Now we get into tier 3. This is what we call the high variance tier. This is Adam Sandler, right? Some of your movies with this guy might be Big Daddy. They might be Happy Gilmore. They might be,
Billy
Madison. But they also might be Jack and Jill. They also might be Pixelated or Pixels or whatever that movie was called. They could be bad,
Johan, that's what it is. Legend of Zohan.
You don't mess with the Zohan. I actually think that movie's underrated, so don't call that. Yeah, come on.
I'd never seen it. I just know that was one of them.
So what we're saying is, and this is the biggest tier of guys for a reason. These are guys who, at their peak, are really, really good quarterbacks. Like, you can go win a Super Bowl with this guy. At their worst, you're like asking if you should be trading this guy, if you need to get rid of him. All right. So they're super high variance. You're going to ride a roller coaster with this player. First guy, Dak Prescott. He's got 2 Pro Bowls. He's got 2 seasons of 4K plus yards. He's got 2 seasons of 30 plus touchdowns. but he also has 4 seasons of 10 interceptions.
Oh,
and he's 2 and
speaking of
4.
which, he said he wasn't going to do 10 this year.
I know. I did see
Crazy.
that. It's happened before in his career, so it's not impossible for him. But
Yeah,
we'll see.
but he's calling
He
a shot,
also-
and that's a slippery slope.
He's also 2 and 4 in the playoffs. Needs
Ooh.
greater playoff success. Next, Kirk Cousins. 7 seasons of 4,000 plus yards, 4 Pro Bowls. Don't think many people know that. Kirk's a Pro Bowl guy. And he's 1 and 3 in the playoffs. There's the questions of old primetime Kirk.
Ooh, another knock.
I think Kirk is better than people give him credit for. He's
But
maybe
he's an average guy.
Well, he just kind of he's a little bit high variance. I think you could win a Super Bowl with Kirk. But I also think Kirk could, he didn't have the greatest playoff game this year.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't performed his best when his team has needed him to be his best. And that's the question with Kirk. Can he be a little bit better in the biggest moments? Next, Geno Smith. Was he a one-year wonder?
Ooh.
I mean, he had 4,200 yards and 30 touchdowns. He was
crazy.
A Pro Bowler.
Yeah,
but
that's crazy.
We didn't see that show up in the playoffs on the road at the 49ers. So we need to see playoff success in year 2 of Geno at the helm in Seattle. Next, Deshaun Watson. He had 2 years of 4,000 plus yards, 3 Pro Bowls before the allegations and all of the things that kind of
before joining the Browns
made him become a guy who sat out of football for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, he had last season a rough year when he did come back. He had 7-5 touchdown interception ratio. Not great. Can he return to form in 2023?
Mm.
Next, Jared Goff, the ultimate good bad quarterback. This guy has been to 3 Pro Bowls. He has a Super Bowl appearance. That's what it looks like when it's good. However, in the Super Bowl, his team scored 3 points because he was getting smoked by Bill Belichick. And everyone knows the key with Goff is putting him under pressure. His general completion percentage over the course of his career is 64%. That drops to 40% when he's under pressure, according to 33rd team. Dang. Not good. Yeah, it's one of the worst quarterbacks under pressure in the league. If you pressure Goff, he's not the same guy. Next, Derek Carr. Or I should say, Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was going to say, you're just going to skip over my guy
9 Pro Bowls, 5 seasons of 30-plus touchdowns, 1 Super Bowl. But he's coming off all career lows. Can this guy get back? Yeah. Can he get back?
Make it happen.
Next, Derek Carr, 3 Pro Bowlers, 6 seasons of 10-plus INTs, 4 seasons of 4,000-plus yards, and he's 0-1 in the playoffs. So which Derek Carr are we getting? The guy who's throwing for 4,000 yards and near 30 touchdowns, or the guy who's going to throw 15 picks?
Yeah, tough look.
Last but not least in this category, we've got Kyler Murray, the ultimate high variance guy.
Yeah.
We saw it just in the 2021 season alone. The guy was an MVP candidate, but then he goes in the playoffs against the Rams and has the worst game of his entire career. He's got 0 playoff success. He's 0-1 in the playoffs. He's kind of smaller.
Got the clause.
He's got the clause in the contract that was then removed. He's had some trouble staying healthy.
Yeah.
However, he's a 2-time Pro Bowler.
That's crazy.
So, can Kyler get back to form in 2023? Next, we've got tier 4. This is the starter with questions. Like the guy who could star in your movie, maybe could be a supporting guy. You're not really sure what you're getting when you get this guy in a movie. You literally, you don't really know. He's had ebbs and flows through his career. That's Nicolas Cage. Had some strong runs, had some weak runs, right? And now has kind of made a little comeback, by the way. So these are starters with real questions that we just don't have answers to yet.
Yep. Number
1, Justin Fields. In 2 seasons, he's never thrown for more than 2,300 yards. He's at 59.7% completions right now.
Ooh.
However, he ran for 1,000 yards last year. He makes your offense dynamic, and he's never played with a great receiver, and he's going to get one in DJ Moore.
Yep.
We'll find out. Brock Purdy. Small sample size. Had the elbow surgery, but he was 2-0 in playoff games that he finished last year. And he threw for 13 touchdowns to only 4 picks in his 7 starts.
Pretty good.
Kenny Pickett. Not a bad rookie year. But he didn't get to start the whole year, and he was a little inconsistent in that he threw 7 touchdowns to 9 picks. He did throw for 2,400 yards. So over the course of a chunk of his season, he threw for more yards than Justin Fields threw for the whole season. And his record as a starter was 7-5, so they were winning with him, which they were not doing with Trubisky.
True.
So there's some stuff to Pickett's game. Next, Daniel Jones. Is he a one-hit wonder? Can I even call him that? Was he even that good last year? He's never thrown for more than 3.2 thousand yards, or 3,200 yards. Last year, he was only a 15-5 touchdown interception ratio, so he didn't throw a lot of picks, but he didn't throw a lot of touchdowns either.
How are they winning games?
Saquon. And Daniel Jones actually running the ball a little bit.
Yeah, true.
He got paid $40 million this offseason, folks.
That's really crazy. I know I said that a lot during this whole thing, but that one's the craziest so far.
So I really don't know what kind of quarterback Daniel Jones is. I know he was better last year, but like this is a guy who went from getting his 5th-year option decline to getting $40 million. I literally do not know. Next, and last but not least, in this starter with questions Nicolas Cage tier, Mac Jones.
Good game.
Bad year 2, good year 1. His 14-11 touchdown to interception ratio last season. His mobility, he struggled. He had the ankle injury. However, he gets Bill O.B., a real OC this year. Does that do enough to move the needle and get him back on track? We'll find out. The next tier. This is the tier 5 youthful tier. Guys, we literally do not know yet. We don't know. We haven't seen him play, really.
Yeah.
This is the Tom Holland tier. The Tom Holland tier, where we saw him in Spider-Man. We're like, oh my gosh, we love Tom Holland. Is he going to turn into a movie star? We don't know. Not enough film yet. Not enough there. These guys, I don't even have stats or anything for them. They're just all like rookies or guys who haven't really played. It's Jordan Love, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell.
Yep.
Literally couldn't tell you about him yet because we haven't seen him. I didn't even know
that's
what
Sam Howell looked like, I'm be honest.
So these are all guys who are either rookies or started less than 4 games.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Now, tier 6. This is what we call the B-list tier. The replaceables. The guy who's probably better in a supporting role, i.e. your backup quarterback, as opposed to your starter. This is the Jared Leto tier. No offense to Jared Leto. A lot of the movies where he starred in have kind of flopped, but movies where he's the supporting actor, really good. That's kind of Jared Leto's thing. He's better as the supporting actor than he is as the star, in my opinion. Some people may feel differently, but this is the Jared Leto tier. We got 3 guys. Ryan Tannehill. Sorry, Titans fans. I know you're hyped. You got Nuke. You got Hopkins. You got him. I don't know. I don't know if Tannehill's that guy. Tannehill has thrown for 4,000 plus yards twice in 10 years. He's one-time Pro Bowler. He was injured last year. He did have a lack of weapons. He had a really good 2021. I'm kind of meh on Ryan Tannehill. I don't know. I mean, they drafted 2 guys in the last 2 years to replace him, so that tells you something about his own team. Okay.
Hey, he's not teaching them either, according to him.
True. Next, Jimmy Garoppolo. Is the guy even healthy? Is he going to play? Is his foot fine? Is his shoulder fine? I don't know. I don't have the answers. He's 40-17 as a starter. However, the 49ers tried so hard to replace him for 2 seasons. That should tell you something.
Yeah.
He is, by definition, replaceable. He was replaced twice.
By Mr. Irrelevant, too.
And
a lot of different factors on that one, though.
I don't know what the Raiders are doing with him. I don't know. Last, and I guess we would say least, Baker Mayfield. A guy who's just near and dear to my heart. I was a Baker fan. I was on Baker. I was saying he was a guy that was going to be good. Yeah. I was wrong. He is a B-lister. He's a Leto. He's a replaceable. His INTs and his decision-making haven't been good enough in his career.
Mm-hmm.
He's on his 4th team in 2 years, and he's got a 31-38 record as a starter. He just hasn't been good enough. And the Buccaneers looks like he's going to be the starting guy for him. I don't know, man. I don't know. I want him to be good. I still am rooting for him.
Yeah.
But I've now kind of given in to the fact that he's on his fourth team in 2 years. I'm probably wrong with my take that Baker Mayfield is actually good. So that's the list of all the starting quarterbacks in the league right now. That's how they're tiered out.
Yeah.
Joe, just off rip, what's the thing that stands out most to you, or the thing you were most surprised about?
I will say probably maybe Lamar. I feel like you were always higher on Lamar. I don't know. Maybe that's just the health. You kept him in that second tier, not the first.
And finished the last 2 seasons healthy.
Yeah.
So
Let's see. What else do I see? Maybe. Nah, you said Kyler's got 2 Pro Bowls.
I think a lot. My guess would be the 2 that people are going to ask questions about are Stafford and Tua.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think there would be other people who might have those 2 guys lower. I just think when those guys are healthy, they're so productive.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess even you could say that Tua doesn't have nearly as much film just because he didn't play the whole season last year. But I mean, early on when every game, I'm pretty sure there was a stat like they were undefeated with him until like, I don't know, like 7 or 8 games in with him starting. So
he's a dog.
it makes sense. Maybe just you could say not enough film for that one. Stafford, I will say he was with the Lions for a lot of his career. He had Megatron, right? But he wasn't able to do much with them in the playoffs. So that you could say that's the knock on most of those playoff games that you mentioned.
But then he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's the other side of it. I guess for me personally, I'd probably say Deshaun, just because like you said, 2 years out of the league, but he will have a full year, as I've mentioned multiple times throughout this whole episode. So maybe this will like either solidify him here, or maybe he slips. Who knows? But other than that, I don't know. Maybe Carr. I don't know. But they benched him, so that's not his fault necessarily. But that's about all I can really think of.
All right, man. Well, I think that does it for the Rankapalooza. Those of you out there watching, listening, learning, let us know what you think. Drop us or a suggestion in the comments where you would rank guys and what you think of my rankings. What you think of maybe the actors in the categories. Maybe you don't like the actors I chose. I don't know.
Yeah, you can make fun of me trying to figure out who was on my teams earlier. You'd
your
be like, "Oh,
pass
this
rush
guy don't
groups.
know
That was a
ball."
tough. It was a toughie. That was a toughie for us. But we want to give those guys some love. Help make them more recognizable so people know who they are. But we got to finish with our banger of the week. Finish this out, Joe. I believe it is your turn on the banger.
It is me this week. So I'm going with music, of course.
Okay.
I'm going with a guy who I normally don't really listen to. He dropped an album recently, Young Thug.
Oh,
I'm taking
okay.
With the Racks by Young Thug. It's got 21 Savage on there and Travis Scott. Pretty solid song. It's off his new album called Business is Business. And that whole album was actually pretty good. I took a couple hours to just listen through it, not in order as our guy would recommend, but I listened through the whole thing like 2 or 3 times, and a lot of good songs for the first time. I think for Young Thug, I'm not a big Young Thug fan. I know people who are, but for me, not really listening to him, I will say I do like this album a good amount.
Nice. All right. Solid. Well, I think that's it for us for today. Let us know what you thought of the Rankapalooza. Let us know if you think your team is too high or too low. Probably won't tell us if you think they're too high. Probably let us know if you think they're too low. And keep with us. We'll be back next week with some training camp content. We're going to be talking training camp questions with every team, looking at some stuff that we see that's happening. I'm sure we'll get more news and maybe some other guys. D-Hop signed this week. Maybe Dalvin Cook signs by next week. So we'll talk all that stuff, latest news, what's going on in the league, little check-in, and we'll keep it pushing.
Yeah. Till then, we got our guy Ray taking us out.